When I was about 10 years old, my mind would always race once the sun went down. Every little sound or shadow seemed bigger at night. To calm myself, I used to keep a small lamp on while I slept, but my parents constantly reminded me to turn it off to save electricity. One night, after watching a bunch of creepy mystery shows about strange encounters, I set the lamp on a timer and went to bed like usual. I wasn't scared at first, but then I noticed a soft red glow under my bedroom door. At first, I thought maybe it was just lights from outside, but the color was off. This wasn't the usual yellow or white from streetlights or passing cars. It was red, and it flickered like it was coming from a flame. Nervous, I slowly got out of bed and peeked into the hallway. That's when I saw it. Standing at the far end of the hall was a tall figure holding what looked like a glowing red lantern. I couldn't see its face clearly, but the way it just stood there made my skin crawl. Panic set in. I dove back into bed, pulled the covers over my head and stared at the door, too terrified to move. It felt like I stayed like that for hours, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. Eventually, I decided to make a run for my older sister's room. When I peeked out again, the figure had moved into the living room, still facing away. I took my chance, ran down the hall and knocked on her door, barely holding back tears. She was annoyed at first, but when she saw how scared I was, she let me in. As I stepped inside her dark room, I glanced back one last time. The figure was gone. Even now, all these years later, I still don't know if it was a dream, a trick of my mind, or something real. But every time the house goes quiet at night, I can't help but remember that moment. I was driving home after another exhausting night shift. The road was quiet and empty, surrounded by tall trees that seemed to close in as the night deepened. Out here, people usually keep to themselves after dark. Most folks say it's the eerie silence that makes them uneasy. I used to think the same until that night. While making my way down the narrow road, I spotted something moving in my rearview mirror. At first, I assumed I was imagining it because of how tired I was, but the movement didn't stop. It grew closer. I realized it was a man, older, waving his arms as if desperate for help. Feeling a bit hesitant, but not wanting to leave someone stranded, I pulled over and rolled down my window. He was breathless, thanking me repeatedly and explaining that his vehicle had broken down farther back. He asked if I could give him a lift to his home, which was just a few miles away. Against my better judgment, I agreed. As he climbed into the back seat, a foul smell hit me immediately. It was sharp and nauseating, like something rotten. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it could be from his clothes or the long night, but the stench grew stronger with every mile. Then things got strange. He reached forward and gently touched my hair, saying with a weird chuckle, "My niece has hair just like yours." His voice sent a chill down my spine. I forced a smile and focused on the road, hoping to get him home as quickly as possible. Eventually, we reached a run-down cabin hidden deep in the woods. He stepped out, disappearing into the darkness. I breathed a sigh of relief, but before I could drive off, I saw him sprinting back toward my car, banging on the window with both fists, his face twisted in anger. Panicking, I hit the gas and sped away, not stopping until I was sure I had lost him. When I finally got home and checked the back seat, my stomach turned. There, he had left behind a cloth and a large hunting knife. Even now, I shudder thinking what could have happened if I had not driven away in time.
I was covering the late shift at a private facility, sitting alone in the monitoring room, giving the main operator a short break. It's a simple task, just keep an eye on the screens, make sure nothing looks off. Most nights are uneventful, but not this one. As I scanned through the usual black and white feeds, one screen caught my attention, a hallway deep in the back wing. On the monitor, I watched a pitch black figure drift silently across the frame, from left to right. Not shadowy, not dim, completely black, like light didn't touch it. I stared, waiting for someone else to walk by. A few seconds later, one of the technicians I recognized came into view, casually scrolling through his phone. He walked right through the same corridor, didn't even look up. If something or someone had been there, he would have noticed. He always does. I checked the other cameras for signs of that figure coming or going. Nothing. And the security doors in that wing require a key card which never triggered. Whatever I saw, it shouldn't have been there. I still don't know what it was, but I really wish I hadn't seen it at all. I once stayed at a house my cousin inherited from someone none of us really knew. It was old and oddly built. Half the structure was exposed to the sky, like it had been abandoned mid-construction. I didn't think much of it at first, though the air around that place always felt strangely thick, like it didn't want you breathing too deep. The area had no neighbors, no lights, just brittle trees and cracked earth that stretched for miles. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was waiting. On my second night there, I started noticing things. Whispers when I was alone, scratches on walls that hadn't been there earlier. My cousin brushed it off, but I could see it in her eyes. She knew something she wouldn't say. The house gave me dreams I never wanted, people and places I'd never been, speaking in a language I somehow understood. And every time I woke up, the same thing was written in dust near the open part of the house. You were never supposed to return. I don't know what that place was, but I left before I found out, and I never asked my cousin about it again. I was staying over at my friend Liam's place one weekend. His family had just moved into a house that they got for a really good price. The place was old, but charming, and everyone was excited about settling in. Since Liam and I were close, I was there a lot during those first few weeks. That evening, we decided to watch some movies. The power wasn't fully connected yet, so they had rigged up temporary lighting in the living room, using an extension cord from the neighbor's house. The rest of the house was dark. About halfway through the movie, I got up to use the bathroom. On my way back, I passed through the kitchen to grab a drink from the cooler. That's when I saw her. A woman stood near the far wall, wearing an old elegant dress that flared out at the bottom. She had a wide hat with flowers, and her silhouette looked straight out of a vintage photo. Thinking it was one of Liam's relatives visiting, I politely excused myself and returned to the living room. I casually mentioned seeing the woman in the kitchen, but when I said it, everyone froze. Liam's dad immediately stood up, grabbed a flashlight, and checked the kitchen. No one was there. The whole house was empty, except for us. Then, Liam's dad pulled out a box of old photos. He showed me a picture of a woman standing next to a casket. It was the same woman I had just seen. She had once lived in that house long ago, and she had passed away wearing that same dress. That night, everyone decided to stay next door until the full power was connected. No one wanted to stay in that house in the dark. Even now, I still remember that woman's figure standing there, like it happened yesterday. After a long shift, I drove home through empty country roads, shadowed by trees. I turned a corner. A dark shape shot into view. It ran beside my car. I thought it was exhaustion playing tricks, but the figure stayed with me. I eased off the gas. It drew closer. A man stepped from the trees. His hood hid his face. He waved, asked for a ride. His voice was steady but wrong, too flat. I let him in. Cold air swept through the car. He sat still and stared ahead. When I glanced over, he smiled. "We've met before," he said. My hands locked on the wheel. I drove faster. The town couldn't come soon enough. I stopped. I looked again. The seat was empty. No sound. No open door. He was gone. I don't take that road at night anymore.